hello everyone out there in YouTube world, Facebook world, social media world, the world, wherever you might be watching this video here today. Welcome to another episode of Musings with MGL. I'm your host, as always, MGL. Please click like, share, comment, subscribe, etc., etc. All right, I'm going to touch on a topic today that's making its way all over the interwebs of the world. And as everyone knows, I am in Florida. I'm an attorney in Florida. I do a lot of criminal defense work, and I do a lot of Second Amendment laws and stuff in Florida. So this is one that obviously hits me home because this is in my state, and obviously it's making the national rounds as well because a lot of people don't like Florida Governor Desantis, and they don't like our stand your ground law. And they don't like a lot of things we do down here, so it's getting a bunch of national play. But essentially, here's the topic. It's right here in this headline from the New York Post. Florida's governor drafts laws that would allow people to shoot looters. Okay, now that's obviously a very catchy headline. That's a very clickbait headline. It's a little bit of an oversimplification for what is in this legislation or proposed legislation. But let's go down here. So let's scroll through a little bit, and I'll read you a couple of paragraphs, and then you can Google it. Everybody knows about it. It's all over the place. But basically, Florida's governor has drafted anti-mob legislation to expand already controversial stand your ground laws to allow people to shoot looters, according to a report. A draft of Governor Ron DeSantis' proposed bill expands the list of forcible felonies under Florida's self-defense law to include criminal mischief causing interruption or impairment of a business, according to the Herald Tribune, which obtained a copy through records request. It also specifically allows force against those looting, which the draft defines as burglary within 500 feet of a violent or disorderly assembly. Okay, so let me break that down for you as a lawyer and as a gun owner and tell you what that means. That does not mean that if there's a riot, you can just drive into the scene and start shooting people and shooting looters at the riot. That is not what that means. That's why it's a very attention-grabbing, misleading headline. Essentially, what this means is, I don't need the glasses anymore. I just can't read, but I can see. Essentially, what that means is, in Florida, in order to use deadly force, you have to be protecting yourself from imminent death or great bodily harm, or attempting to prevent what's called a forcible felony, as it says right there in the article, a forcible felony. Now, Florida statutes has a list of what are currently considered forcible felonies. They include things that you would normally think they would include, such as a murder, a rape, kidnapping, etc. Treason is actually on there. It's a listed crime on there as a forcible felony. So these are crimes that allow you to use the threat of force or deadly force or deadly force. If it's a crime that's not on there, you can't use deadly force or threat of deadly force to stop it. For example, if you see somebody breaking into a car on the side of the street, you cannot pull your firearm to stop that person from breaking into a car because burglary of a vehicle is not a forcible felony on that list. Therefore, you are not permitted to use threat of deadly force or deadly force. If you see somebody shoplifting, you cannot pull your firearm to stop them from shopping because that is not on the list of forcible felonies. This looting and this rioting situation causes a weird little bit of a loophole because the same rules apply in a riot or in looting that apply when there's not a riot or looting. In other words, you need a forcible felony. If you are find yourself caught in the middle of a riot with a bunch of people surrounding your car trying to break the windows and drag you out of it and hurt you or your family, you can use deadly force or the threat of deadly force because you are under imminent threat of death or great bodily harm. If you're in a riot and you see 7 people beating up or kicking the crap out of somebody that's on the ground and trying to murder that person or commit an aggravated battery or something like that, which would be on the list, then you can pull your firearm and try and stop them from doing that. But if you see them simply breaking into a Best Buy and stealing all of the stuff out of the Best Buy, you cannot use threat of deadly force or deadly force in that situation. If you are a small business owner and you are afraid that somebody is going to come to your small business and bust it down and burn it down and burglar it, which is breaking in and stealing your stuff, you can't use threat of deadly force or deadly force to stop that, okay? The whole thing during the LA riots with the rooftop Koreans walking around with their firearms up on the roof, you couldn't do that in Florida because burglary of a structure, which is what a business is, not your home, that's a different issue, but burglary of a business is not on the list of forcible felonies. So you could not come to a riot scene and pull your gun to prevent people from looting your store. You can't do that in Florida. You 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 can't, because it's not listed on the forcible felony list. So what this legislation does is it simply adds certain crimes to the forcible felony list, such as a burglary that is occurring within 500 feet of a violent or disorderly assembly. So if your small business is downtown and downtown is in the middle of a riot and dozens of people in the middle of this looting and this rioting are busting into your store, stealing your stuff, then you can now use deadly force or the threat of deadly force to stop them from doing that, because this is a burglary that's now occurring within 500 feet of the violent or disorderly assembly. Same thing with criminal mischief. Criminal mischief, which is where you cause property damage, is not a forcible felony. It's not. But under this new one, they want to include criminal mischief, which would cause the interruption or impairment of a business. So once again, if people are spray painting your business or busting out your window, which is a criminal mischief. Burglary is if I bust out the window and go in and take something, that's a burglary. If I just throw a rock through your window, that's criminal mischief because I've damaged your window. So it just adds criminal mischief that is used for the and interrupts or impairs your business because it's in the middle again of a riot or looting, to the list of felonies, forcible felonies, in which you could pull your firearm and point it at somebody and say, hey, stop busting my windows, stop trying to burn down my store, et cetera, et cetera. So that's all that it does. It doesn't give you the right to just go into a riot or a looting scene and start shooting looters. You can't do that. And I haven't read it word for word, but my guess is you probably still need to have, I would think that if something like this got through, it would still make you have to have some sort of right to that property or some sort of interest in that property. In other words, if I'm the business owner and I'm pointing a gun at somebody to stop them from breaking in or looting your store, you would be protected. If I, as a business owner, hire a company to come do that, or if I have my friends come do that and I give them permission to do it, then I think you would be protected by this. I don't think it would just be such a blanket thing that would allow just some random person who lives in your city to say, you know what, I don't like the looting, I don't like the rioting, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to protect these stores on my own, even though I have no interest in the store. Okay, that's what happened in Kenosha with the Rittenhouse kid. Is he came in from another state. I know it wasn't that far away, but he came in from another state and took it upon himself, along with these other people, to start protecting businesses. I don't believe that they were like asked to do that by the business owners. They didn't have like a security contract or something with the business owners. So if a law like this were to pass, I don't think it's going to just apply to everybody who sees a riot on TV and says, I want to go and save my town, so let's get a bunch of guys to go down there and start pointing guns at people to stop them from looting. If I had to guess, if this had any chance of passing, they would have to put some sort of language in there that would give you a right to the property or an interest in the property, or it's going to have to be contracted by the employer or the owner, or asked by the owner, or something like that. But don't fall into these headlines where they say you're going to just be able to shoot looters. That's simply not true. It's simply adding current crimes that are occurring across this country to a list of crimes that you can use the threat of deadly force or deadly force for. Because, what's the alternative? So I guess if you own a small business, you just have to suck it up and take it. Like, if you know a whole bunch of people are going to bust in your window and burn down your business or steal everything that you own in there, that's just tough. That's what you got insurance for. Your insurance company can pay for it. People's lives are worth more than the shoes in your store or whatever. I mean, that's what people on the other side would tell you about something like that. But I would certainly argue that if you're a business owner and you've poured your life and your soul into that business, you shouldn't just have to stand there and let people bust through the windows and steal all of your stuff and potentially burn down your building. The rooftop Koreans, again, are a great example of what can happen when you've got people who exercise their Second Amendment right to protect their property. And right now, if you tried to do something like that in the state of Florida, you would be charged with aggravated assault or improper exhibition of a firearm or something like that, because these particular crimes are not listed on a list of forcible felonies. So I support this legislation. I hope it goes through. It's just a draft, a proposal by the governor. Obviously, he can't just sign laws. They've got to go through the legislature first. It'll be drafted. It'll go through a bunch of different committees and see if anything becomes of it. But don't believe these headlines. Don't think that Florida's a crazy state that you're going to go around and start shooting looters now. It's simply providing a lot more protection to business owners and property owners that don't currently exist under our law, given what's going on in a lot of other portions of the country right now. So it should be a good law. I'd like to see what the final version is, to see if it's a good law or not a good law. But the concept, I think, is good, and that's what's going on in the state of Florida. So keep an eye on that. That'll be one to watch. It'll certainly be followed by all the local media and all the national media because, again, they just look for any opportunity to pick on Florida as being like this crazy Wild West state. But basically, we just don't like people burning down and stealing all our stuff down here and not being able to do anything about it, which I'm okay with. So keep an eye on that. Thanks for watching. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, try and stay open if you can. Lockdowns are coming. I may do another video on that soon, but regardless, as always, though, carry on.